Who will win the men's and women's Owen Hart tournament? So we know now the finals after this week's Collision. We've got CM Punk versus Ricky Starks taking place on the men's side. On the women's side, we still have two semi-final matches to take place this upcoming week on AEW. One on Dynamite, one on Rampage. The final will be on Collision. So we've got Skye Blue versus Ruby Soho taking place on Dynamite. We've got Willow Nightingale versus Athena taking place on Rampage. So without further ado, NXSteve, I'm going to start with you. We'll talk about the men's first because we have the final in place. CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. Obviously, CM Punk, does he need this? I don't know, but I know he's a big Bret Hart fan. I imagine he's a massive Owen Hart fan as well. He showed a real passion this past week on Collision, getting everyone to say, chant Owen during my match with Samoa Joe. You know, really sort of hitting home that this is Owen Hart's tournament, what Owen meant to the wrestling business, what he did for everyone that's probably been watching pro wrestling, how a number of people probably wouldn't be in pro wrestling if it wasn't for wrestlers like an Owen Hart, who was a game changer, well ahead of his time. Ricky Starks, on the other hand, is someone that AEW has been trying to build for quite a while now. Obviously, had the championship match against MJF at Winter Is Coming last year, had the program with Jericho, had also the program with Jay White, which for me wasn't as strong as what it could have been. But obviously now to win this would be massive for Ricky Starks and put him right back on track. How do you see this playing out?
It's damned if you do and damned if you don't with this one for me, because they've done such a really good job with getting CM Punk back in like the good books with fans. Like you said, that Owen Hart promo was like really sincere, really heartfelt. Like you can tell that the Canadian crowd appreciated it, and like again, it was just a great way of building him up. But then you've got, like you said again, the Ricky Starks is this up and comer, the guy that they're trying to build, and it's a double-edged sword because they're still trying to keep CM Punk as a top guy, and the guy obviously claims that he never lost the AEW World Championship, and it would be amazing if Ricky Starks wins this. Absolutely, like it would elevate him to the moon, and like I would love to see him do it. But I think at the minute the process is just all about rebuilding Punk, and I think that him winning it is just what they're going for, just to get him back in the graces with a lot of fans. Like I said, if he's cutting promos like that every week, it shouldn't take him too long, but I think winning this tournament will do him the world of good.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that argument. The thing is, I have two ideas in my head, and like you say, on paper, it just feels like you want to build up CM Punk. This is the sort of stuff that's going to get him back on the good graces with everybody, and obviously it's the name value as well. You're adding a big name there. Imagine the first two Owen Hart Cup winners, obviously Adam Cole and then CM Punk the next year. Obviously two really big names there on the AEW side of things. But at the same time, Ricky starts to just feel like the breakout star, someone that could really do with this. Obviously, this is, Owen Hart was someone that when he won the King of the Ring, if you want, wanted to be that person that could get to the next level, felt he was being overlooked by a Bret Hart at the time, obviously the big Bret Hart, Owen Hart storyline narrative that was going on at the time. And I just kind of think, wouldn't it be great to see the underdog do it, actually win the tournament? But for me, the only way I can see it realistically happening, I mean, obviously CM Punk has said like he is the guy until someone shows that he's not the guy anymore, which makes you think Punk, if he's going to lose, it's not going to be clean. The program's still going on with Samoa Joe. Is there a chance that Joe could cost Punk in this final?
It's a high possibility. I would just like to think that they book this because it's a tournament final. They'd like to possibly book it clean. It's probably their get out of jail card though with Samoa Joe. Like I said, I think it'd be great for Ricky Starks. It's just shooting yourself in the foot with who's going to win it. But it's a great shout out for the Samoa Joe scenario.
Absolutely, indeed. I'm hoping that, as I said, I'm hoping Ricky does it. But if it just stays 1-on-1, you can't bet against CM Punk, I don't think, at this particular moment. One last question I'll ask about the men's tournament just before we move on, because they are booking CM Punk as the babyface. Is there a way, in any way, shape or form, that we could see some form of heel turn from Ricky Starks in this final? Because obviously he kind of was like in a part of this team with CMFTR, obviously, that were on a losing effort to Bullet Club Gold just recently on Collision. This past week, FTR made the save for CM Punk with Samoa Joe, and we saw Ricky Starks just come on the entranceway, didn't come all the way down to ring. Obviously kind of gave that feeling that he was someone that was watching Punk's back, but clearly not enough now at this moment. Do you reckon there's a possibility something could be there that Ricky Starks could go back to the heel side at some point in the near future, or am I just thinking out of thin air?
It is a possibility, but I just think that Starks is too much of a fan favourite at the minute. I think this is why they've just book themselves into a corner having Punk against Stark, unless the goal is to turn Punk heel. Do you know what I mean? I just think that as much as it's probably the safer bet, making Starks turn heel, I don't think it realistically would happen. I think there's more chance of Punk turning heel from it.
Yeah,
I think that's the only way you get around Punk losing and Ricky Starks winning.
I like that. I like that indeed. There. Well, let's give a final prediction then. Who's going to win it, CM Punk or Ricky Starks?
I'm going to go CM Punk just because he's booked himself in the corner by turning around saying I'm the man until somebody beats me. I think that promo alone has kind of sort of soured any result that involves CM Punk.
There we go, indeed. There, I think if it stays 1-on-1, it will be CM Punk that will win it. As I said, if there is any shenanigans, and I don't rule it out, Ricky Starks then would do it. But the thing is, I hope it remains face versus face. And this tournament for me feels like it should be a feel good tournament. We're celebrating the Owen Hart in life, career, charity work that's done out there. So this for me, it feels like it's a babyface trophy, and it should be won by a good guy. So it's good to see two babyfaces in the final. Yeah,
I mean, like hopefully if they are going to do it with booking it right interference, I'd like it to be a case of that, like they book it in such a way that, for instance, Ricky Starks doesn't know there's been involvement, and he just, do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, I don't know, Joe just pops out of nowhere, socks him with a pair of knuckle dusters, but Starks is completely oblivious, hits his finisher, and just wins the match, thinking like he's won it of his own accord. Just because then I think it helps protect Starks instead of picking up a win via interference.
Yeah, I like that. I think that would be a good way to go about it. Let's move on to the women's then. In the meantime, obviously we have the semi-finals before the final at the time of recording, so it's not as clear cut here to make a prediction, but I certainly will make a good attempt to try and get it right. I'm sure NXSteve you will do the same. So on Dynamite this week, we've got a semi-final, Ruby Soho taking on Skye Blue. And then on Rampage, we have Athena taking on Willow Nightingale. Now, obviously the key moments of these two matches, Ruby Soho last year lost in the final. Of course, she lost to Britt Baker in that final effort, but she beat Britt Baker in the first round this year, which makes obviously a good case that maybe she could go towards the final. Skye Blue, incredible talent. She's improving each and every week with her appearances and performances in ring. When you look on the other side, Athena and Willow Nightingale were supposed to have their match this past week on Collision, but of course Willow was not cleared for that match. Athena, of course, has made the point that she's never beaten Athena in the past, kind of like CM Punk could ever beat Samoa Joe. I wonder if that's an ingredient here of maybe what could be an indication of what could be that final. A part of me, if you'd have said to me before, how do I see the final playing out, I would have been tempted to have gone Skye Blue versus Athena, but I'm going to predict the final is going to be Ruby Soho against Willow Nightingale, purely because I think Ruby getting to the final again makes most sense for storyline narrative, and I think Willow beating Athena to finally get over that hurdle, then they can set up an ROH Women's Championship program after this tournament is finished.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, and I think I'm just giving my prediction away earlier. I think Ruby Soho honestly needs this win. Like, I know she's a heel, but she needs something because for the longest time, it's always been a case of so close, yet so far. And as much as Willow winning over Ruby Soho would make a hell of a lot of sense and probably give her all the momentum in the world for that ROH World Championship title. Again, without being on AEW as much, I don't see the point in having Willow Nightingale win it. I think this is why I'm going to say Ruby Soho wins this.
I would like Willow to win it, but the thing with Willow winning it is what would be next? Would she go for the AEW Women's World Championship? Well, she did that at Forbidden Door and she lost. So I don't see them revisiting that again, because once you get involved with the social outcast, that's usually what would be the end game. So I'm inclined to kind of agree with you. I think the Ruby Soho, like you said, she always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I think this is the opportunity. She finally becomes that one and she wins this tournament. And like you said, yes, it is a heel that wins it, but somewhere a heel needs to win this tournament. You can't always be a babyface every single time, otherwise it'd become very, very predictable. But I do really like the passion that CM Punk brought into this tournament this past week. Obviously, the final is going to be in Calgary as well, so it's a nice and fitting finale as well for this tournament. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it'll go down. But I guess then both mean you will be going for Ruby Soho to pick up the W then in the final.
Yeah, like I said, I just think Ruby Soho needs it more than anyone.
Absolutely. Well, let's go then into the comments then, and then we will wrap up our stream here today. Daz Reynolds says Punk to win and then Ruby for the women's. So there we go. We've got Temple Plays here giving his pick as well. Wants Skye Blue to win the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament. Don't blame me for that one as well. I mean, she's been improving so much in the ring, so it would be good to see. C Nation says I got CM Punk for the men's Owen Hart tournament. I've got Skye Blue for the women's tournament. Although
Skye Blue is that feel good moment if Skye Blue was to win it.
I would agree. She would definitely be the feel good moment. But C Nation says we've changed the mind there. Ruby Soho will be the winner there. Ruby Soho was in the first ever TBS Championship match and lost. She was in the first ever final for the Owen Hart's final as well and lost. Jordan's lost the AEW Women's World Championship match against Dr. Britt Baker. As we said there, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So that's what the comments have got to say there with regards to the Owen Hart Cup tournament as well there. But let us know yours in the comments below as well. Who do you think is going to be winning the Owen Hart tournament for the men and the women? We look forward to interacting with you. Make sure to like, share and subscribe to SCW as always. And thank you for watching.